Weekly Spooky is brought to you by our generous supporters on Patreon. Get access to exclusive podcasts, videos, and more for as little as $1 a month when you go to WeeklySpooky.com and click on the Patreon link. Your support has gotten us to 100 episodes, so join up today and help us create another 100 and beyond. Head over to WeeklySpooky.com and join the Patreon.
What's that? You want to be scared? Come with me. You will experience tales of horror, ghosts, and death. It is not recommended for the weak at heart. Listen in the dark. It's more fun that way. This is Weekly Spooky.
Hello, my friends. It's Wednesday, and that means it's time for a little spooky in your weekly. I'm so excited because today I get to present to you part 2 of 4 of Prom Queen Killer, Weekly Spooky's first mini-series. But before we get to that, I want to just say thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. And if you have just a moment, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And if possible, leave us a 5-star rating. It really helps people discover the show, and I really do appreciate it a whole lot. And if you're listening on Spotify, and I know a lot of you are, they have added a star rating system, and 26 of you have already left your thoughts. So thank you. But that leaves a whole bunch more of you who need to get on that. So if you don't mind, please do. I also want to say a big fat thank you to all of our Patreon backers. We are up another couple of patrons this month, so we are crawling steadily toward my goal of 100 patrons. We're in the mid-80s right now. For as little as $1 a month, you can get exclusive content, be the first to know what's going on with the show, and get a behind-the-scenes look at how we make the spooky on the weekly. All you have to do is go to WeeklySpooky.com and click on the Patreon link. I really appreciate it. It keeps the show going every week. Speaking of every week, it's time, my friends, for part 2 of Prom Queen Killer. And don't worry, if you haven't had a chance to listen to last week's, or if it's been a while since you listened, we have a nice little convenient recap at the beginning. And hey, if you're digging this, if you're enjoying us doing multi-part mini-series on the program, why not let us know? Comment on Patreon, send an email to weeklyspooky@gmail.com, and tell us if you want more. But now, on to the story after these words. This episode is brought to you by Manscaped. Cheers to 2022 and the resolutions you can actually keep. How about upgrading your grooming routine for the new year? Manscaped are here to make the ball drop into 2022 the cleanest ever. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code SPOOKY20 for 20% off and free shipping. I just received a late Christmas gift from the fine folks at Manscaped. It included their new ultra premium shampoo, conditioner, and body wash. Many of you may not know, but I have hair past my shoulders, and their shampoo conditioner had a delightful scent of fresh tea and citrus that I really enjoyed, and my hair was soft to the touch. The body wash was rugged, but not in a perfume cologne scent kind of way, and the natural sea salt helped make scrubbing excellent. Whether you're getting the lawnmower to trim down there, the weed whacker to control your nose hairs, or one of their men-focused deodorants or shampoos, all of their excellent and hilariously named products are a perfect gift for yourself or that man in your life. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SPOOKY20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code SPOOKY20. It's new year, new me in 2022 with Manscaped. Now, on with the story. Previously on Prom Queen Killer. 2 years ago, Laura Lee Hardy and her family were out and about in Shore City. Laura Lee's homophobic older brother Aiden verbally abused her, leading to a physical confrontation that caused a horrible car accident. 2 years later, Laura Lee and her mother are living in Strickfield, with Laura Lee a senior at Strickfield High School and living a good life. She has a best friend in Cheryl Blint and is romantically involved with Misty, Cheryl's younger sister. When it comes time for senior prom queen nomination announcements, both Cheryl and Laura Lee are nominated. Immediately after, they are confronted by Taylor Mirren, another nominee and the frontrunner who plans to win the senior prom crown at any cost. Later that night, Laura Lee receives an email from her older brother, Aiden, saying that he's coming for her and Misty very soon. And now, Prom Queen Killer, Part 2 of 4. Tuesday. When it came time to get up for school, Laura Lee woke Misty. Laura Lee couldn't bring herself to sleep after reading Aiden's email. She'd even snuck to the kitchen to grab herself a knife out of the block on the counter. She kept the knife clutched tightly in her hand in case Aiden might have decided to attack them during the night. Laura Lee nodded off a few times, but shook herself awake. Before she woke Misty, she put the knife away in the nightstand drawer. And that was when she saw her smartphone was gone. Laura Lee slipped out of bed and tried looking for it, without success. She knew right then she couldn't tell Misty about the missing phone, or Aiden, for fear of frightening her. After the girls finished with their shower, Laura Lee was in the kitchen making coffee for them to take to school. When Laura Lee finished, she handed Misty her cup to go. "Holy shit, babe," Misty said after taking a drink. "You made this really strong." Laura Lee forced a smile. "Sorry, honey, I guess I wasn't watching what I was doing." Misty put her cup down and wrapped her arms around Laura Lee's waist. "You okay?" Laura Lee yawned. "Yeah, I'll be okay. I guess I'm more tired than I thought." Misty kissed Laura Lee. "We can always skip school and go back to bed." Misty kissed her again to help add to the temptation. Laura Lee forced a laugh. "As much as I'd love to take you up on your offer, what will we tell Mom when she comes home and sees us in bed? She'll give us hell for skipping school." Misty playfully pouted. "Well, you can't blame your girlfriend for trying." Laura Lee kissed her back. "I love you. And believe me, I do appreciate your efforts. I can remake the coffee if you want." Misty moved away from Laura Lee and picked up her coffee. "I love you back. No, you made the coffee this strong before. It'll be okay." But Laura Lee knew things weren't okay as she picked up her coffee. From there, the girls left the apartment and began their walk to Strickfield High. Unbeknownst to them, a figure wearing a dark outfit was watching from a distance. In hand was Laura Lee's phone. Laura Lee was thankful that Strickfield High was lax when it came to students drinking coffee in class. Deep down, she expected any day that Principal Matthew Van Diest would make the announcement saying that coffee was no longer allowed during class time. He never did, though. She determined the teachers might give some backlash to that since some of them also enjoy their coffee during class. As other students were gathering into their first period class, Cheryl Blint, Misty's older sister, came in and sat next to her. After exchanging morning pleasantries, Laura Lee saw one of the other nominees enter. Randy Robinson usually wore a hoodie and loose capris to class. Randy was known to jog just before school, which suggested that she used the locker room shower before coming to class. Laura Lee and Cheryl rarely ever spoke to Randy, but they knew her well enough to know that she never gave anyone a hard time. She was mostly focused on her schoolwork and her running events. She had placed in both cross-country and in track. She also had scouts come and look at her, which meant possible athletic scholarships. Now she had the possibility of becoming senior prom queen, which meant she would be tapped by a major sorority from an area university. As more students came into the classroom, some of them quickly stepped aside when Taylor Mirren entered. In fact, every pair of eyes went right to her. The teacher wasn't in the classroom yet, guaranteeing even more pain for whomever Taylor had in her sights, especially since she wasn't in this class with them. Taylor suddenly held up a Blu-ray disc for everybody to see. She didn't have to explain her actions as she placed it right on Randy Robinson's desk. Randy gasped and looked up at Taylor. "Drop out," Taylor ordered. "Or I promise you, I'll hand copies of this blue to everybody at Strickfield High. Everybody will see the extracurricular activities you do outside of your extracurricular activities." Randy looked at Taylor with both awe and fear. "How did I get this?" Taylor translated. "Trust me, bitch. If you have any skeletons in your closet, I will pull them out, kicking and screaming." She pointed down at Randy's disc. "Drop out of the running. Final warning." "Taylor Mirren," the teacher said upon entering the classroom. "Get to your class, now." Taylor sneered as she turned away from Randy and started to leave. Before she left, she put 2 fingers to her own eyes, and then pointed those same 2 fingers at Laura Lee and Cheryl. After she left, most every other student looked at Randy Robinson and saw a tear roll down her cheek. At the end of track practice, Randy waited until she could be alone in the girls' locker room. It was bad enough that fellow students were whispering and wondering what was on the disc that Taylor Mirren had given her at the beginning of first period. But to have her own teammates asking her about what happened was just too much for her to bear. So much that she had fallen during a couple of time trials. Now, as Randy was undressing for her shower, she was wishing she had never responded to that ad in the student newspaper at Erie City University when she was taking a campus tour there. The ad was for a photo shoot. When Randy arrived for the shoot, she learned it was a nude photo shoot. At first, Randy refused to do it. However, money can make people do things they thought they would never do, especially when it was an easy $3,000, cash. Randy posed for the explicit photos and was given the money. The photographers even let her count it in front of them. From there, they offered her plenty more where that came from. Deciding she really liked that kind of cash, she agreed to do more explicit photo shoots, and even videos, to where she would have actual sex on camera. She was making damn good, tax-free money for each shoot. Also, Erie City was hundreds of miles away, and none of the pictures or videos were ever posted on any website outside of an expensive paywall. But somehow, Taylor Mirren had gotten hold of a sex video that Randy had made. When Randy was alone, she put the disc into her laptop and saw Taylor wasn't bluffing. It was one of her latest videos, where she was having sex with another female model. Randy had no choice. Before going to track practice, she went to Principal Van Diest and dropped out of the senior prom queen running. Principal Van Diest tried to ask her why, but all she said was that she didn't want to be prom queen. Now she was wondering, once Taylor Mirren heard about it, if she would keep her end of the deal. Running events were all that Randy had left. If Taylor went back on her word and exposed that she was secretly doing porn, her whole world would come to an end. She would lose everything and be expelled from school. She'd never even so much as be able to get a job working at a minimum wage fast food place. Sure, she could keep doing porn, but she ultimately did not want to make that a full-time career. If it turned out she couldn't make it in the business in the long run, then what? Her life would end up being a complete dead end. It was then when Randy saw someone enter the shower. As the person drew closer, she still couldn't make out the face in the steam, but she could see the person was clearly naked. Randy kept her eyes on the person until she could see more. Randy smiled with relief when she finally saw the face. "Oh, hey, what are you doing in here?" Randy gasped when the figure suddenly swung the knife from behind their back and sliced right across her muscular stomach. Randy felt only what seemed like a paper cut. and then a lot of her red liquid pouring out. Randy staggered for a moment before the figure dropped the knife and grabbed her. The figure backed Randy up to a nearby wall and locked lips with her. Randy's panicked and painful screams were muffled as her attacker reached inside her stomach and pulled out her intestines. When Randy finally felt her attacker's hand on her heart, she went limp and died. The killer still pulled out Randy's heart and tossed it aside before dropping the body. The killer looked at what was left of Randy Robinson before dropping the telltale Blu-ray disc next to her body. The killer picked up the knife, rinsed off, and then left. Wednesday. In the morning at school, things seemed to go on as normal, until two of the track team girls went to take a shower before class. Even though the Strickfield Police Department tried to keep everything low-key, it hadn't taken long before the news of Randy's murder spread through the hallways. Even Laura Lee, Cheryl, and Misty were all but speechless. Principal Van Diest was barely able to get through the morning announcements at the start of first period. The three girls didn't have a class together until third period. Unfortunately, Taylor Mirren was also in their class, and she was being less than subtle about Randy's murder. It was then when Ellen Franks, the only other nominee left for the senior prom queen, had heard enough and confronted Taylor. But Taylor wasn't the least bit intimidated. "You got something you want to say, drama bitch?" Ellen was both in the National Honor Society and a star in the drama department, but she wasn't acting when she let loose on Taylor. The police said the same disc was found in her body, the same one you gave her yesterday. How do we know you didn't kill her, huh? The other girls thought that Taylor might have been defensive against Ellen. However, "Oh, I would have killed her, make no mistake about that. Just the fact that she was a competitor for my crown sealed her doom. In fact, look around you." The other senior prom queen candidates looked and saw that other students were pulling discs out from under their desks. A few of them even slid them into their laptops. It didn't take long for everybody in the classroom to see the skeleton that Taylor had pulled out of Randy's closet. Randy's porn name was Marnie Love, Taylor revealed. The video you people are watching is her most recent, and wow, she even did her own stunts. She laughed a little. Oh well, one less usurper to worry about. Ellen screamed as she might have in a drama production and tackled Taylor. The two girls only fought for a moment before Taylor showed that she had some martial arts training. She stopped Ellen quickly by striking her fast in the throat with a jab. Ellen gagged and coughed as she dropped to her knees before finally falling onto her side. Taylor smirked her evil smirk. So stupid. Unlike most of you, I can back up everything I say or do. She knelt beside Ellen. Your boyfriend's not here to save you, but I assure you, I'd leave him the exact same way I left you. She giggled. And now, you will drop out of the running for senior prom queen. If you don't, I'll drag your big skeleton out of your closet for everybody else to see, and it's a beauty. Suddenly, the teacher came into the room. Taylor Mirren, office, now. Taylor stood up and faced the teacher. Anything you say. She giggled again as the teacher escorted her to Principal Van Diest's office. I can't believe that bitch got off, Misty said to Laura Lee during lunch period. No expulsion, not even a detention. Taylor probably threatened Principal Van Diest with a lawsuit, Laura Lee muttered. I just can't believe Taylor exposed Randy's secret like that, even after Randy dropped out of the running. Because that bitch does whatever she feels she has to do to win, Cheryl said as she and Davis sat down at the table with them. People say Taylor's the most ruthless out of the entire Mirren clan. She's even turned against members of her own family who fucked with her. Seriously, what even drives someone like Taylor Mirren to do the things she does? Misty wondered. I mean, Taylor has so much money to her name. She lives all by herself. She can afford to hire people to come and clean her house. Laura Lee even said to her she can afford any college she wants. Suddenly, Taylor Mirren appeared and slammed her palms down on their table. Didn't you hear me yesterday? I told you. It's all about prestige. You can't buy prestige. You have to earn it, even if it means eliminating your competition to get it. What do you want now? Cheryl demanded. I'm here to warn you and Laura Lee one more time to drop out of the running. Taylor answered simply. You don't drop out? I reveal skeletons. Oh, and you should see what I've got on that stupid cunt Ellen and on you. Cheryl groaned. Why don't you fuck off, Taylor? I'm not dropping out. Laura Lee and I are going all the way to the end, no matter what. Taylor smiled her evil smile and bent over the table to look at Davis as she purred softly. Are you sure about that, Cheryl? Because I have a major skeleton of yours that I can reveal right here and now. She turned to look at Cheryl right in the face. Well, fuck you, Cheryl returned. Taylor laughed her evil laugh and pushed herself back up to a standing stance. Why, yes, fuck me. She looked at Davis again. How many times have I let you do that very thing? When the girl saw the guilty look on Davis's face, Cheryl became angry. Why? She demanded. Was I never good enough for you? Taylor answered for Davis. Why would he want a flat-chested prude like you? She pushed up her endowed breasts. When he can have a hot fuck like me. I take what I want, whom I want, when I want it, and Davis wanted me. So many times. Cheryl pushed herself away from the table, got up, and stormed off. Laura Lee and Misty quickly got up to follow her. Laura Lee glared at Taylor. Fuck you. Taylor shook her head slowly. Sorry, I don't eat pussy. Now, run along, go after your friend. Laura Lee was very angry, but Cheryl was more important than a confrontation with Taylor. She turned and ran after Misty. Davis stayed right where he was and looked at Taylor, who rolled her eyes at him before walking away. Ellen Franks was enjoying some private time with her boyfriend, Ricky Zeller. She rolled off him after some hot and heavy frustration-relieving sex. Ricky turned over and got on top of Ellen for a hot, steamy kiss. When they finished, he could see that she was still very angry. Babe, I'm really sorry I couldn't... You're fine, Ellen interrupted. I really needed this. I can't believe Principal Van Diest let Taylor Mirren stay at school and suspended me. Not only did he suspend me for a week, I'm out of the running for senior prom queen, and I can't even go to prom. Explain to me how that's even remotely fair. Fuck Principal Van Diest, Ricky said. Taylor probably showed him some tit. Yeah, and now I'm totally fucked, Ellen snapped. I'm suspended. I'm out for prom queen. I can't even show up for drama practice. Mrs. Grantham almost cut me from the play and the drama club completely. She put her hands to her head and groaned again. Ricky, I hope you have more to give me. As much as you want, he promised her. They started kissing hungrily again before they were broken up by a loud noise. Ricky quickly rolled back off her. What the fuck was that? Go look, Ellen ordered. As Ricky was getting out of bed, a figure stepped into the doorway and turned on the light. The figure had a blonde mullet, a hideously disfigured eye, a horribly scarred face, and wore dark clothing. In their left hand, the figure held some papers. In the right was a bottle with what appeared to be some paper shreds sticking out of the neck. Did you really think you were gonna be prom queen, you slut? The figure asked in a mocking voice and lifted the papers in their left hand. You got a criminal record, Ellen. Hey, Ricky, did you know your slut here did time at Erie City Asylum for losing her shit and stabbing a girl? It's all right here in these papers I lifted. And it was all over a guy. Ricky reluctantly accepted the papers and looked at them. Then he looked at Ellen. When were you going to tell me this? Ellen snatched the papers from Ricky and read them over. When she finished, she glared at the figure. Where the fuck did you get these? These are supposed to be sealed. Are you working for Taylor? She opened a nearby drawer and pulled out a knife. She got out of bed to rush the figure, not caring she was still quite naked. I'll fucking kill you, then I'll kill her ass. The attacker put the bottle down and punched Ellen hard in the stomach, sending her to the floor and leaving her gasping for breath. As Ricky was getting up, the attacker snatched the bottle of what appeared to be nail polish remover and produced a lighter. He lit the paper shreds and threw the bottle at Ricky. The bottle exploded, covering Ricky's upper body in flames. He screamed and flailed his arms mindlessly. The attacker lashed out and kicked Ricky in the stomach to send him to the floor. He continued to scream and burn until he stopped moving. Forever. All that was left now was Ellen. As Ellen got up, she saw that her bedroom was becoming an inferno as the flames from Ricky's body spread and ignited whatever they touched. By taking her eyes off her attacker, he struck and gave her a martial arts jab to her throat to send her back down to the floor. He quickly got on top of her and pulled out his knife. Then, he jammed it right into the small of her back, making her cry out sharply. He worked the knife and cut right through her spine. When the killer pulled the knife out, he saw that Ellen could only move her upper body. She was now paralyzed from the waist down. From there, the killer left her room with the knowledge that Ellen would eventually die once the fire reached her, assuming she wouldn't bleed to death or die of smoke inhalation first. Laura Lee was on her way to Misty's house with food. She wished she could talk to Ridge, her mother, on her missing smartphone. She would use the landline later, but still she worried and wondered who had taken it. It had to be Aiden, right? Laura Lee sighed and wondered why someone like Taylor Mirren was such a cutthroat. Then again, she wasn't sure of a lot of things. It seemed the more she felt she understood the way the world worked, the more she found she was more confused about it than ever. Misty had told her earlier that day how much of a short fuse Ellen had had. The reason Misty knew this was because prior to being Laura Lee's current girlfriend, she had been seeing Ellen. In fact, the reason Misty broke up with Ellen a few months prior was because of Ellen's temper and outbursts. But against Taylor Mirren, Misty felt it was warranted. Laura Lee wasn't worried that Ellen would ever attack Misty. Why would Ellen do such a thing? One, Misty was with Laura Lee, and the two of them were very much in love and practically living together. Two, Ellen had gotten with Ricky Zeller and seemed happy with him. Still, she supposed that Taylor Mirren would give anyone at Strickfield High a motive for wanting to be violent with her. Of course, Taylor was well ahead of that notion since she knew martial arts and had easily subdued Ellen. Still, Taylor Mirren felt she needed to destroy all of her competition to gain her heart's desire. She had billions upon billions of dollars to her name, but even money didn't seem to make Taylor happy. And really, how did Taylor find the skeletons in everybody's closets? Now that both Randy Robinson and Ellen Franks were out of the running for senior prom queen, that only left herself and Cheryl. She knew it wouldn't be long before Taylor would come after the two of them. She sighed again. Sure, she had skeletons in her closet. Everybody on the whole goddamn planet had their skeletons. Even Taylor Mirren herself had to have some. She knew she'd have to talk to Misty about her major skeleton. About Aiden, as soon as she got to her house. She knew it would be easier to talk to her lover over Chinese food, Misty's favorite. Laura Lee soon reached the front door of the Blint house and found it ajar. Fearing the worst, she quickly dropped the food and went inside. She screamed when she saw Misty's slain, bloody body nailed to the living room wall in a crucifixion pose. Next to Misty's corpse was a single word, written in blood. Soon. Well, my friends, I hope you enjoyed part 2 of the 4-part Prom Queen Killer. And I gotta say, aren't you wondering? Where's Aiden? Who's the mysterious scarred man? Are they one and the same? Is Aiden in cahoots with the billionaire monster, Taylor Mirren? Or is Strickfield just out of luck when it comes to having a surplus of maniacs willing to do anything to get what they want? Well, tune in next week and find out. And please, I'm not kidding, if you enjoy this miniseries, let us know, because if you do, there will be more where that came from. So send us an email at weeklyspooky@gmail.com, or better yet, drop a comment in our Patreon. Our Patreon is a place where folks can support us every month for a price they can afford, starting at $1, and you get bonus content, direct communication with me, and I promise you, we'll make it fun and scary. So head over to weeklyspooky.com, click on Patreon, and get involved today. I want to see us hit 100 in the new year. And speaking of the fine supporters over at Patreon, I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon podcast boosters, folks who give just a little bit more in order to hear their name spoken by my silky smooth voice. And those are Gino Lyons, Karen Wiemet, Jack Kerr, Jeff and George Hilton, Craig Cohen, Rob Fields, and Kevin Fry. Thank you all so much. And if you want to get in on the action, again, it's weeklyspooky.com. Click on Patreon. We also have exclusive merchandise if you go to weeklyspooky.com and click on store, including a brand new Prom Queen Killer t-shirt and hoodie, in case you really, really love this miniseries as much as I am. So anyway, my friends, I will see you next week with the 3rd part of the story. But until then, stay safe, stay scary, and for myself, for my composer Ray Mattis, for my producer Dan Wilder, and for the man himself Rob Fields, who wrote this entire series, I will talk at you later.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to find your way back next week. But for now, you are safe. Trust me.